Hey folks, Jim Thomas here, Fitness Management and Consulting, and I appreciate you being here at the channel today. And for you folks that have not yet done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate it. And if you enjoy the content that's provided, please hit that like button as well. Now, our topic for you today is sales skills that every gym sales rep must master. Sales skills that every gym sales rep must master. Now, we've got 13 of them here for you that we put down. And number one is product knowledge. Okay? Make sure you have knowledge of your product. This is not to say we're trying to educate our customer on every piece of machinery out there, but I would suggest, hey, work out in your gym. Make sure you've worked out on every piece of equipment. Make sure you've used every service. Make sure you've taken every class. Have some good product knowledge on what we're talking about here. Okay, it's like being in car sales and not driving the car that you sell. Okay, have some product knowledge of what you're doing. So that's number one. Make sure we know our stuff. Number two, you need to have prospecting skills. You're going to have to prospect. You're going to have to be able to keep your pipeline full. And so what you want to get a plan of action together on is, how am I going to prospect? How am I going to get new leads? And set yourself a number. Hey, we want to bring in, you as an individual, say, you want to bring in 10 new leads every single day. Well, if you're working 20 days out of the month and you're bringing in 10 new leads a day, there's 200 new leads. Add that to other things that you have, your walk-ins, your telephone inquiries, your referrals, and everything else. You got a pretty good prospecting plan going on all of a sudden. So let's make sure we really hone our prospecting skills. Number three, rapport building on the call. Rapport building on the call. And whether it's a telephone inquiry that's coming in, or whether it's an outbound call, rapport building. I typically kind of refer to this as, building a bridge of trust by talking about something we have in common. Rapport building. Now, let me give you a tip on this. I want to suggest that you memorize this. You memorize your telephone inquiry script. If you don't have one, you need to get one. If you need one, click one of the links below, hit me up, and we can make sure we can get you one. But make sure you memorize your telephone inquiry script. Make sure you memorize your outbound call script. And the reason you want to memorize it, it's the same thing they're going to tell you in the theater. The reason that you memorize your lines is so that you're free to be yourself. The reason you memorize your lines is so you're free to be yourself. And when you're free to be yourself, this rapport building becomes a whole lot easier. Okay? When we're spending too much time thinking about, hey, what should I say next? It starts to fall short. So memorize your scripts so you're free to be yourself. Number four, it's active listening. Even though you've done this many times, it's almost like, going back to the example of being in a theater, when that curtain goes up, you have to give this performance like it's the first time you've ever done it. And when it comes to active listening, don't simply be waiting out the customer and waiting for your turn to talk. Listen to them, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to honestly solve their problem, and we're trying to honestly provide solutions for them. Okay, so stay engaged. Ask them to repeat it. Hey, just to make sure I'm clear on this, Mary, what you're saying is the following. Okay, but you want to have active listening. Number five, it's communication skills. Being able to communicate with your customer. And one of the easy ways to do this, particularly in the early stages, is find out as much about your customer as you can. The more you know about them, the more you can talk about them, the easier this communication process is going to be. Okay, and even if you don't make the sale and you gather this information, all this stuff goes back into your CRM. So now when you're following up, you have it all here. It's not simply, hey, do you want to buy? Okay, because ultimately, good communication skills, good rapport, we're solving problems, we're providing solutions. You're going to get results that you want, and so is your customer. Okay. Number 6, we want to learn to ask qualifying questions. We want to learn to ask qualifying questions. Learn to probe. Mary, is this information going to be for you or for someone else? Well, it's going to be for me. Okay, well, fantastic. And Mary, tell me, how long have you been thinking about doing something for yourself? Oh gosh, ever since college. It's been probably at least 10 years. Okay, fantastic. So we're going to be asking qualifying questions. Okay, learn to become really good at that. I call it kind of the salesperson cheat sheet. I know I've told this story before, but when I first started, I'd have my clipboard and I'd have, little crib notes, taped on my clipboard, the things I knew I needed to ask, qualifying questions, that I knew I needed to ask on that tour. Number 7 is time management. We want to master time management. This is a big one for many folks. One of the things that we know just from all the data that we get is that for the most part, salespeople, they will only spend about 20% of their time doing something that's going to result in a sale. Think about that for a second. They only spend 20% of their time doing something that's going to result in a sale. If that's you, and you can just take that to 40%, well, what does that mean? Well, if you just do the math, it means you doubled your sales. What if you double it again to 80%? Okay, so look at the whole time management issue, and what I would suggest you do is be constantly asking yourself this question: is what I'm doing right now going to result in a sale? Is what I'm doing right now going to result in a sale? If it's not, quit doing it and let's do something that will. Okay, and there's a lot of things that can kind of play into that, but time management is going to be a good one. Number 8 is preventing objections. Many times, I know we spend a lot of time, talking about, the sales presentation, how to overcome objections, but you get right down to it. I'd rather you be great at just preventing them than overcoming them. Okay, you're probably going to get, I want to think about it, right? So like I mentioned earlier, you're on the tour, and so Mary, tell me, how long have you been thinking about doing something like this? And ever since college, it's been about 10 years. Okay, you're taking that first step toward overcoming this, right? Or I'm taking somebody through on the tour, and maybe that spouse objection is a concern here, and I might say, and Mary, tell me, what kind of goals does your husband have for you? And she's going to tell you, okay? Well, you're starting to overcome these things in advance, okay? You're starting to prevent them from even coming up, okay? And so make a list of all the objections that you think you might get, or the ones that concern you, or the ones that you struggle with, and then what questions can we ask on that tour, to potentially overcome that. Number 9, handling objections. Okay, we're going to have to do that. And here's the simple thing. When you get down to the price, okay, the way I like to explain it, the selling is over at that point. The selling is the greeting, the evaluation, the tour, the analysis. That's the selling. That's where we solve problems. That's where we provide solutions. When you get down to the price, now it's about closing. Now it's about asking for the sale. And so when you get down to that, it's about asking. So customer says, well, hey, I'd like to give this some thought, and can I get back with you tomorrow? Simply be agreeable and ask for the sale. Mary, I understand, a lot of our customers, want to think about it, before they get started. But Mary, since it sounds like it's something you're probably going to do anyway, Mary, may I suggest we take time out of the equation? And Mary, can we go ahead and get you started today? You're going to have to be able to ask for the sale. I would put out to the side of this a decent boldness. Decent meaning we're friendly, we're respectful, we're courteous, but we're bold. Bold meaning if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Okay. Number 10 is some demonstration skills, some analysis. Okay. My suggestion is you want to get your customer involved, whether you're going to have them demo some equipment. Okay, maybe they try a tricep extension machine, maybe they try a bench press, maybe you weigh them in, maybe you measure them, maybe they do some kind of cardio test, a strength test, a flexibility test, but you want to have some kind of demonstration that helps to illustrate and helps to show them where they're at and that they truly need and how you can help them get the results they're looking for. Okay, learn how to get commitment. Okay, learn how to get commitment. Okay, if we don't get the person committed, you're not going to get anybody signed up, right? And they're not going to get the results they're looking for. Okay, because just know this: when we talk about commitment, okay, inaction, there's a cost to inaction. Yeah, there's a cost to taking action. I have to pay some money. I have to show up. I have to do the work. Okay, but there's also a cost to inaction. And help show your customer what is the cost of inaction. What has been the cost of inaction the last 5 years of not doing something? What has been that cost? Maybe it's blood pressure. Maybe it's cholesterol. Maybe it's body weight. Maybe it's you can't wear all your favorite clothes. Whatever it might be, okay? What is the cost of inaction? But we have to be able to gain commitment, okay? Because, what happens if we don't take action on this, okay? Number 12 is closing techniques. Learning different closing techniques, okay? Different ways to ask for the sale. One of the ones that kind of comes to mind there is, Mary, there's basically 3 steps toward joining a club. The first step was we start to think about it, okay? And you mentioned you've been thinking about it for about 12 months now, and now you're here. The second step is that you actually start to check out clubs. That's where you're at right now. And the third step is you actually make that decision to go ahead and join. And Mary, by saying that you want to think about it, really what you're saying is instead of moving on to step number 3, you want to go backwards to step number 1. Mary, what do you say? Can we go ahead and get you started today? Okay, that might be something. And maybe that's for you, maybe it's not, but there's plenty of other things that we can do. But you want to have your own closing techniques, your own ways to ask for the sale that work for you. Okay, don't do them that work for me or work for somebody else. Find ones that work for you, but find things that are proven. And you have to ask. You have to have decent boldness, and you have to ask. Okay, and then finally, it's going to be your post-sale relationship. Your post-sale relationship. Now, and I'll call it the post-sale. We're assuming we make the sale. Say we don't. Is we want to follow up and follow up and follow up. We want to nurture our customer. We want to maintain interest and desire. Okay, we're not going to give up on them. And then if we do make the sale, they are a customer. Let's just don't let them go. Let's keep them close to us, okay? Because we'd like to get that referral. Maybe they want to participate in personal training. Maybe they like the idea of some of your retail. Let's stay close to them because again, there's an entire lifetime value of that customer. So there's 13 sales skills that you want to take a look at. If you're in sales, you want to be in sales, or you're teaching someone in sales, take a look at those 13 skill sets. Work on those. Have training classes every day. You can check, there's numerous videos here, hundreds of videos here on the channel that you can utilize to gain more information to become better at each one of those skills. So folks, my name is Jim Thomas. My company is Fitness Management and Consulting. I appreciate you being here today. If you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. We look forward to talking with you real soon.